Hello, I'm Bob Havery in St. John's Church in downtown Waterbury, and we are continuing with our series of new perspectives on favorite hymns. The hymn for this particular episode is one that goes with Lent and Passiontide. It is the Passion Chorale, or also known as O Sacred Head Sore Wounded. This particular hymn has more settings for the organ than any other that I know. In fact, in the great collection of chorale preludes published by Oliver Ditson in 3 volumes, there are actually 12 different settings of this hymn, whereas most of the other hymns appear only once or twice. The settings I've chosen for today, there'll be 2 of them, a short one by Bach and then another one by Johannes Brahms. But I want to talk about the hymn itself first because it has a very interesting history. It was written shortly after 1600 by a German composer named Hans Leo Hassler, and he wrote it as a love song. It's a secular love song. Later, he added the German words, Herzlich Tut Mich Verlangen, and the hymn tune also goes by this name. You know, our hymns actually have two names that are associated with them. We usually think of them as the words that we know, O Sacred Head Sore Wounded. But there's also the name for the tune that goes with it. And if you ever look in a hymnal, you'll see some little tiny print at the bottom, and down there you'll find the name of the tune as well as the hymn. And there it is in this one. It's Herzlich Tut Mich Verlangen, which does not mean O Sacred Head Sore Wounded. That text was added a century later, sometime in the 1700s, and it was one of the texts used by Johann Sebastian Bach in his St. Matthew Passion. In fact, Bach uses this particular melody 6 times in the course of the St. Matthew Passion with a different text and a different harmonization each time. And it's just at the very last harmonization, the last appearance of it, that it comes with these words, O Sacred Head Sore Wounded. But because of this use of it in the St. Matthew Passion, it also goes by the name, the Passion Corral. It's a very beautiful, beautiful hymn. And let me play for you, but let me tell you one other story that I just found from our videographer, Steve Winkler, who told me he recognized it as a tune that was picked up and used by Paul Simon. Probably, in the 1970s? Yeah. So kind of a reversal of things. Starts as a love song, becomes a very wonderful hymn of the church, and then Paul Simon kind of appropriates it back into a modern texture. Here it is, O Sacred Head Sore Wounded, or the Passion Chorale. Now, in the setting by Bach, he slows down that tune, I think, to reveal the poignancy of the idea. This, after all, is about the crucifixion of Jesus, also known as the Passion of Jesus. So the tune comes out quite a bit slower, and at first it's very clearly stated. And what we hear at the end of that is he adds some embellishing notes to the melody. So instead of, it comes out, And he'll use those embellishing notes as a very expressive element within his music, and it becomes that, along with the wonderful harmonies that we find in this piece, really reveal the inner content of this music, which is about the crucifixion of Jesus. So here is Bach's setting of the Passion Chorale, O Sacred Head, Sore Wounded. And now the setting by the 19th century German composer Johannes Brahms. This is quite different than the piece that we just heard. Brahms very well could have heard the St. Matthew Passion, which had been discovered a short time before by his contemporary Felix Mendelssohn, who later performed it in Germany. A lot of Bach's organ music was simply not known at that time, so he may not have heard Bach's setting of it and was really working on his own. And he came up with this fabulous setting of the tune itself. To begin it, he gives us an obligato part, a melody that will go along with the primary tune that is set quite low on the organ for the somberness of it. And it goes like this. Might have heard in there how there is this repeated listen for it. Maybe a heartbeat. What happens is it continues throughout the piece, and at the very end, it gets slower and slower until it finally ends. The melody itself is played in long notes in the pedal, and he's changed the rhythm of it. Which I think brings out the poignancy of it. This particular prelude is part of a collection known as the 11 Chorale Preludes for organ by Brahms. These were written in the last year of Brahms' life. In fact, these are the last compositions that Brahms ever wrote. They have been described as being intensely personal, and Brahms actually wrote that he never intended them for publication. Fortunately for us, they were discovered after his death and published, and are there to give us the perspective on these melodies by one of music's great composers, Johannes Brahms, and the prelude on O Sacred Head, Sore Wounded.